Hello everyone, in this video we will be seeing part 9 of What If Deku was in the DC universe, so be sure to stick around until the end. Let's get started. Izuku was running around the Danvers home, cleaning and making sure that everything was in the best of shapes. He cleaned the dishes, washed the sheets, swept the floors, and even took out the trash. He was basically a one-man cleaning crew. Izuku had just finished cleaning up his and Kara's room when she arrived, and gave him a surprised look. "Damn, Greenie, since when did you turn into a neat freak?" Kara asked, causing Izuku to shriek. "Oh, I just, thought this place could use a scrub or two." "Don't think too much of it," Izuku said before rushing out of the room. Kara narrowed her eyes at the running exchange student. She would have normally attributed this to Izuku messing up big time and trying to make up for it. But Kara knew that her little Greenie wasn't that kind of guy. Something else was going on. Just then Kara's super hearing caught something on the drawer that Izuku used as a nightstand. She walked up to it, and saw that he had left his phone on it. "What do we have here?" asked Kara, looking at it. A sneaky thought came to her mind when she held the phone. Maybe Izuku had something that he didn't want her to see. Whatever it was would be great teasing material for later. She touched the screen, and what appeared before her made her smile drop. Kara reached for her own phone and called the rest of the team. "Guys, meeting at the lair. It's an emergency," screamed Kara before taking off to sweet justice. All the girls gathered in the lair at Kara's request. The blonde was visibly agitated and the rest of the girls could only assume the worst. "What is wrong, Kara?" asked Diana. "We have a problem, guys, a big problem," Kara said. "Alien invasion?" asked Jess. "No," Kara said. "The Joker's in Metropolis?" asked Barbara. "No," Kara replied. "Superman's turned evil?" Diana asked. "No," Kara replied. "Then what is it?" Karen asked, feeling petrified with fear. "This," said Kara, holding out Izuku's phone, more specifically the message that was being displayed. The rest of the female members of the Teen Titans gathered around the phone and looked at the message. The message read, "Izuku, I just wanted to let you know that I'll be going to Metropolis for the weekend. I've already gotten in contact with your host family, and they said that they'll be expecting me. I look forward to see you after such a long time. See you this weekend, love, Mom." "Inko, Greenie's mom, is coming to town tomorrow," Kara said, her face filled with fright. This was followed by the rest of the girls all gasping in shock and surprise at the knowledge. More specifically, Diana, Z, and Jessica looked like they heard terrifying news. "Wait, why are we freaking out?" Barbara asked. "If she thinks Izuku is wasting his time here, she could take him home," Karen said, causing the girls to imitate the famous painting The Scream, along with their own voices. How horrible that fate would be was clear to see on their faces. "We must prepare for her arrival," Diana proclaimed. "As the mother of our friend and comrade, she deserves nothing short of our full devotion and respect. In layman's terms, kiss up to her and be the perfect young ladies," Z said. "That too," Diana replied. "Do we know anything about her?" asked Jessica. "Not much, but, with how Izuku's been acting, I can only assume she's one strict lady," Kara said, imagining the look of the woman. All the girls began picturing Izuku Midoriya as a strict hard as nails, with sharp eyes and an unimpressed look on her face. "We cannot falter here, sisters. We need to be strong and be prepared for anything," said Diana defiantly. Over the course of the remainder of the day, all the girls began studying and learning as much as they could about Japanese customs and traditions. Particularly the customs and traditions that the typical Japanese young lady had to follow. They even found several places that were very traditionally Japanese to take notes from. The day had finally arrived. Izuku stood at the arrival's exit, awaiting the arrival of his mother. Girls, I appreciate you coming with me and everything, but what are you doing?" Izuku asked as he looked at his friends. All the girls had decided to go with Izuku to greet his mother, but they didn't wear their usual clothing. All the girls wore traditional everyday kimonos and dresses and had combed their hair in the traditional sense. Combed backwards and tied in a bun with a large piece of jewelry on it. Diana wore a red kimono with a blue sash around her waist. Kara wore a dark blue kimono with a yellow belt. Zatanna wore a black one. Jessica wore a green one with a dark belt. Karen wore a yellow one that matched her armor, and Barbara wore a purple one. "We are wearing traditional kimonos in order to make your mother feel more at home," said Diana. "Although socks and sandals, not the best combination," Zatanna said. "And I can barely move in this thing," Kara said, holding in her breath. "Shh, here they come," said Karen, pointing to the opening doors. One by one, people started coming out of the baggage claim and through the doors. There were all sorts of people coming through, but none of them matched the picture that the girls had of Mrs. Midoriya. It was as though the woman herself was watching them from behind the crowd of people, observing them like a predator watches its prey. Just then, a tall woman with dark hair, wearing a pair of shiny glasses and a black business suit. Her look just screamed, harsh future mother-in-law. Sheesh, that one looks like she'll disapprove of anything, Kara said. Are we sure that might be her? Asked Z, whispering to Diana. We can't assume just yet. We must await Izuku's reaction, Diana replied. Mom, over here, called Izuku, waving his hand and causing the superhero girls to turn pale. The girls couldn't believe it. That strict-looking woman was Izuku's mother? This had to be some kind of joke being played to them by the universe. But if it wasn't, then they'd have to make their best efforts to win her over. All of the girls regained their confidence and assumed a calm expression. As the woman they thought was Izuku Midoriya got closer to them, they all bowed in respect. Welcome to Metropolis, Mrs. Midoriya. We are at your beck and call, said Diana, never once looking up to see the businesswoman walk past them. Izuku, I am so happy to see you after so long, called a very cheerful voice. The girls lifted their heads to look at the person and were utterly confused. Izuku was hugging a short, somewhat chubby woman with green hair much like his own. She wore a white shirt, beige skirt, a pink sweater, and held a black handbag. She had a kind face and a very approachable aura around her. Guys, this is my mom, said Izuku, with a slight blush on his face, as he sheepishly scratched his cheek in embarrassment. In an odd turn of events, all of the female Teen Titans fell to the ground in shock, much like in a comedic anime moment. They quickly picked themselves up, and gathered around Izuku Midoriya in disbelief. Wait, you're Greenie's mom? Kara asked. Yes, my name is Izuku Midoriya, nice to meet you all, said Izuku before politely bowing. I'll admit that I was surprised when Izuku told me that his friends were all girls. The girls quickly got over their shock and remembered that this was Izuku's mother. They had to act appropriately. The pleasure is all ours, the girls replied, bowing in respect. Let us start over, shall we? My name is Diana Prince. It is a pleasure to meet you, Diana said with a small red streak across her face. I'm Kara Danvers. You'll be staying in my house for your stay. Sorry for before, Kara said with a smile. I am Z Zatara. A pleasure to meet you, ma'am, said Z with another bow. My name is Jessica Cruz. If there is any dietary or all-naturalist needs you may have, I'm your girl, Jess said. I'm Barbara Gordon, nice to make your acquaintance, Barbara said. I'm Karen Beecher. It is a pleasure to meet you, Mrs. Midoriya, said Karen. This, of course, caused Izuku and his mother to have very confused looks on their faces. Do they always act like this? And why are they wearing kimonos? Aren't they hot under there? Izuku asked her son in a whisper. I'm not sure, Izuku replied. They usually don't act like this, if I may, Diana said, causing both mother and son to jump slightly. We would like to take you on a tour through the city. A tour? I didn't know, Izuku muttered. Here, let me take your bag, Kara said, scooping the bag with ease. If you would follow us, Z said, guiding Izuku with Jess helping her. You must be exhausted after such a long flight, Jess said. Would you like something to eat? We can stop for some burritos, Barbara suggested. Or perhaps you'd prefer some tea? Karen asked. This left Izuku very confused. Why were the girls so focused on pleasing his mom? He was a little worried that she might have found out about him being a superhero. But he had no idea about what the girls were thinking. Whatever the case, he had to keep up with them. Literally. In another part of the city, Izuku was helping his mom pick what she would like to eat, while the female members of the Titans discussed the development of things. I can't believe this. How could we have ever thought that the mother of Izuku would be a vicious and strict lady? Kara said to the group, feeling like a complete fool. We just made ourselves look like idiots. Do not be fooled, Kara. Every war is deception. We must keep up as best as we can, Diana said. Why do you say that? Asked Barbara. Because this could be all a ruse, an act of misdirection, Z said. She could be playing nice with us while sizing us up. True. So we must keep up appearances until such a time as we are sure that Mrs. Midoriya is no longer testing us, Diana said, narrowing her eyes at the short woman. So, that means we can't change? The kimono is starting to make me feel a little bothered, explained Jess. What should we do? Karen asked. We keep at it, and make sure she believes us to be the perfect girls, Diana said. Agreed, Z said. On it, Kara agreed. Daremos lo mejor, Jessica added. Is this because you four have slept with Izuku? Barbara asked, shocking the four girls. The four girls turned to the redhead with shocked expressions. The shock quickly passed as they covered her mouth as to ensure Izuku's mother hadn't heard her. Wait, what? Asked Karen. Keep your mouth shut, Kara whispered as a red streak appeared on her face. How did you find out about that? Asked Z. We took all sorts of precautions, Jessica said. Detective? Hello? Barbara asked. I figured it out because of how you guys were behaving weirdly. She began. Yes, we get the picture, Barbara, Kara said. We were going to tell you to, but there just wasn't a good opportunity, but now we must focus on something else. We just want Inko to be happy and not take Izuku away, Diana said. Oh, we are still with you. Just wanted to clarify things with you, Barbara said. Was I the only one that didn't know? Karen asked. Here they come, Jessica said. At the sight of both Izuku and his mother approaching, the girls swiftly recovered their composure. With big smiles on their faces, they bowed once more to them. The food will be ready shortly. Where would you girls like to sit down? Inko asked. Wherever you find appealing to you, ma'am, Diana said. We're fine either way, Z said. Yes, strong bodies. We can take anything, Kara said. Oh look, a table just cleared up, Jessica pointed with a smile. They quickly moved to the table and awaited their food. Of course, this caused a bit of an awkward silence as the girls were too afraid or weary to ask anything to the older woman. But as luck would have it, Inko decided to break the ice. So, how did you girls become acquainted with Izuku? Inko asked. Well, he's been sleeping in my room house. Yeah, and we've been getting to know each other ever since, Kara said, quickly before spilling that her and Greenie were roommates. I am also a foreign exchange student. As such, Izuku and I have similar classes together, said Diana with a smile. We all technically met in the cafeteria on the first day, Zatanna said, hoping to avoid mentioning detention. We have some hobbies in common, so we slowly became friends, Karen added. Oh, so you like heroes too? Inko asked. Oh my gosh, yes, Barbara said, dropping the calmed mask she was wearing. Aren't they just awesome? I mean, I don't know much about the heroes in Japan, but I can tell you everything you need to know about the heroes in the US, she started ranting, getting Inko and the rest to sweat drop. I can see why you're friends, Inko replied softly. Just then, a large explosion could be heard on the other side of the street. The group turned to see what was going on. On the other side of the street stood a large man wearing a red car-like armor. Oh yeah, that's how Adonis does it, yelled the now-named Adonis, carrying a large bag of stolen loot. Back inside the restaurant, the group looked in worry as the villain continued doing his thing. Goodness gracious, a villain! I hope a hero will come in time, Inko said. The Teen Titans could only stare in shock as the supervillain continued on his rampage. Normally they would have run out and beaten him, but now they had to find a way to get out there without alerting Mrs. Midoriya. Just then Diana had an idea. I am so sorry, Mrs. Midoriya, but I need to go to the bathroom, Diana said. I'll be right back. I'll go too. Be right back, Kara said before they sped to the bathroom. Who could think of going to the bathroom at a time like this? Asked Inko. Just then, back outside, Adonis was tackled by both Wonder Woman and Supergirl. They stood ready to put down the machine wearing Punk. So, I see you chicks are here to check out the merchandise. Can't blame you if you hang out with that scrawny dude all day, Adonis said as his mechanical pecs moved up and down. What's he trying to say? I don't understand him, Wonder Woman said. He just called Deku a wimp and we are just kicking his butt, Supergirl said, explaining everything. Understood, Wonder Woman said before they both punched Adonis. The machine-clad villain was sent flying into the air before Wonder Woman threw her lasso at him. She wrapped it around his leg and pulled him back with great strength. Supergirl used this chance to fly in and shatter the suit with a single punch. All that was left was a scrawny toothpick of a man. He was then tied up with the remains of his suit for the cops to pick up. In the blink of an eye, both Diana and Kara returned to their seats back with the others. Their kimonos slightly out of place for the quick change. So what did we miss? Kara asked with an innocent smile. You mean you didn't hear the battle that just happened outside? Inko asked in disbelief. Oh, so some heroes stopped the villain. That is quite a relief, Diana replied. Yes. 2 girls I've never seen before just up and defeated the villain, Inko said. Yeah, they did great, Izuku added before winking to the 2 girls. I suppose, but why did they have to wear such scandalous clothing? Inko said, causing Diana and Kara to swallow their drinks down the wrong tube. Scandalous clothing, asked both Diana and Kara. But what's wrong with our heroes' uniforms? I just don't see the reason as to why they have to show off so much skin. I mean, what if someone exploits that for some near-dowel reason? Inko asked. Showing so much should be shameful in my opinion. The other girls giggled at the sight of their two powerhouses blushing like a couple of schoolgirls. But their giggles didn't last for very long as Inko continued on. Then there are the other female heroes that wear their uniforms a little too tightly, Inko said. It is almost as if those things are painted on. All the girls now wore an embarrassed look on their faces, as they were each guilty of what Mrs. Midoriya had just said. The good news was that she was about to say something nice for a change. But I suppose that they are doing the right thing, Inko said. Yeah, that's the important part, Izuku said, making the girls feel better about themselves. Right, Izuku, always looking to be the hero. Ever since he was a little boy in preschool he wanted to be like All Might, Inko said. Always wearing his All Might onesie, she said laughing at the memory. Now it was Izuku's turn to be embarrassed, as the girls gathered around Inko for more information. Please continue Mrs. Midoriya and don't leave a single detail out, Z said with a mischievous smile on her face. The conversation went on for hours on end, even after they finished their meal. All the while Izuku was both embarrassed and happy. Embarrassed because of his mother telling the girls about his childhood and his heroic dream. And happy because the girls were no much more relaxed and were no longer intimidated by his mother. Although, the idea of anyone being intimidated by his sweet mother did make him chuckle a bit. They left the restaurant and began showing Inko around the city. They took her to the downtown area, the parks and the pier. They did all this before she grew tired and decided to call it a day. She was still feeling the jet lag of her trip. The Danvers welcomed her into their home and helped her set up in the guest room. The girls decided that they should help her get her things in for her stay. I'm very happy that you and Izuku became friends, girls. He's always been shy, Inko said. No problem, ma'am, besides you can't not like him. He grows on you, Kara said. Yes, Izuku is quite the good friend, Diana added. It's just that, after one of his friends turned into a bully, I've been worried that my baby would become antisocial. But seeing him with so many friends makes me so happy, Inko admitted, with comedic waterfalls pouring down her face. So that's where he gets it from, the girls thought. The female titans couldn't help but feel like they had to comfort the green-haired woman. They patted her on the back while telling her that everything was going to be all right. The girls were now at ease about their position with the mother. The weekend passed rather quickly. Before Izuku or the others could realize it, it was time for mom to return home. Both mother and son hugged each other with tears in their eyes, as it was apparently a Midoriya family trait. Something that the girl titans found a bit adorable. I'll miss you, mom, have a safe trip, Izuku said. I'll miss you too, honey, remember to eat all of your veggies and not to stay up so late, Inko said. We'll make sure of it, said Diana with all the girls agreeing her. Thank you girls, it was a pleasure to meet you all, said Inko bowing. The girls bowed in response, now wearing their everyday clothes instead of the kimonos. Before Inko left, she gestured her son down to whisper something in his ear. They all seem like very nice girls. I think they really like you, Han, Inko said, causing her son to blush. All that kissing up to me could only mean one thing, just understand that you don't need to date them if you don't want to. After she said those words, Inko left for her plane as Izuku and his friends waved at her in goodbye. Inko's heart swelled up with pride and joy. Her son was following his dream of becoming a hero. The day was shining and there wasn't a single cloud in the sky. Even the students and teachers were just happy to be in school because it was such a good day. Everything was right as rain, especially for a certain popular girl. Barbara Barbie Minerva walked through the hallways like she always did, like the queen of the world. The school students bowed to her as she passed them. Her group of subjects gathered around her and gave her compliments. Wow, Barbie, you look amazing. Is that a new coat? I love it. Please notice me, Barbie. Barbie continued on her walk as a small smile appeared on her face. She was on her spot at the top and she wasn't going anywhere. Hey look, there's Diana and Izuku, called a voice snapping Barbie out of her thoughts. She looked to see Diana and Izuku walking side by side talking as he carried a small stack of books. Barbie still held some resentment over the two foreign exchange students. And as much as her new feral instincts told her to turn and attack them, she held back. Barbie merely snorted away in apparent disgust, closing her eyes. Back with Izuku and Diana, They continued walking and talking to each other without a care in the world. I just think that it's weird to compare the rising heroes of ancient Greek myths to the heroes of the current era, Izuku said. Well, I admit that there are more differences than similarities, but you must admit that their struggles and actions make them very similar, Diana said earnestly. We should probably make a paper about the subject, but I'm afraid it'll be a little preachy, Izuku began before accidentally bumping into Barbie. The books fell out of his hands, and Barbie quickly shot him a glare at him. I'm sorry, I didn't see you there, Izuku apologized. You should watch where you're going. Do you have any idea how much these shoes and coat cost? Bobby demanded. I already said that I was sorry, Izuku whimpered, as Barbie shot him a glare that bordered on predatory. Barbie, please, it was an accident, Diana stepped in. Barbara Minerva shot a glare at the Greek woman in an intense staring contest. Barbie could feel her cheetah claws slowly growing and her fangs beginning to settle in as she looked at the Amazon. Here to save your boy toy, I assume? Typical Diana, sticking her nose in other people's business, Barbie shot. I am merely helping a friend. You cannot treat people like that because of an accident. Izuku already apologized for it, Diana said firmly. And I do not appreciate you calling him a toy, whatever you say. Understand this, Diana, nobody cares about heroics anymore, Barbie said, getting in Diana's face. The world is like a jungle, the strong thrive and the weak become food, so either get in line and fall down, or you're going to regret it. Okay? She said, poking Diana on her chest. That's enough, Izuku said, getting Barbie's attention. You can say all you want, but that doesn't mean we have to agree with you. The world isn't as dark as you claim it is. There's always people willing to do what's right, he said. Diana smiled at her friend standing up for her, while Barbie snarled at him. Just who the bloody hell do you think you are? Barbie asked as she was about to poke Izuku's chest. Izuku caught her hand and stared her in the eyes. The intensity of his stare was one so strong that it could pierce through Barbie's soul. The strength of the grip was one that Barbie had never felt, strong and unwavering. My name is Izuku Midoriya, and you will not speak to my friend like that, Izuku said before releasing his grip on her hand. No one said anything as both Izuku and Diana continued on their way. When the two young heroes were at a long distance from her, Barbie gazed at her hand. A small print of where Izuku had held her was still visible. Many thoughts were passing through her head at the moment, but one stood out the most. That strength, that intense glare, and that fire. Barbie said to herself, triggering something within her. Oh fuck, I must have him, Barbie thought as her cheeks turned red. Barbie turned to where Izuku and Diana had gone and licked her lips in desire. Barbara Minerva had discovered many things after becoming possessed by the ancient spirit of the cheetah. Her reflexes and senses were enhanced to the point that she was easily a match for any pro athlete. Her speed was unmatched and her claws were deadly. But there were some things that she did not expect. Due to her predatory nature, Barbie would sometimes snap and react viciously against anyone or anything that she deemed as a threat or simply got on her bad side. But now, she felt an extreme heat coursing through her as she thought back to the Japanese boy's words and actions. She deduced that she had inherited the animalistic desire of seeking out a strong mate. The boy's actions and intense determination made him fit the bill easily, but thanks to her enhanced senses, she noticed that he was also very muscular. A smile crept on Minerva's face as her mind pictured her desires. The hunt is on, little green rabbit, Barbie said as her eyes turned emerald green. The day moved on as normal. Izuku and the girls each went on to their respective classes. But there was something that wasn't as normal as it normally would. From time to time, Izuku could feel like someone or something was stalking him from the background. This continued on throughout the school day. The Teen Titans went on to a burger joint in order to have a meal. But Izuku was on edge. It was close to dusk and they were eating outside. Izuku glazed behind his shoulder several times, wondering where the feeling came from. But every time he turned around to spot the source of his feeling, he saw nothing. Izuku had never felt like this before. The feeling of being hunted by something he couldn't see. Of course, this was noticed by the rest of the Titans. Izuku, are you all right? Asked Diana. You've been acting a little jumpy, Kara said. I don't know, I keep feeling like someone or something has been staring at me from the shadows, Izuku said. It could be Barbara. I mean, she did figure us out, darling, Z said, staring at the detective of the team with a glare. I said, I was sorry. Geez, let it go, Barbara said, sipping her soda. Something like that was bound to happen. That doesn't mean you had to spy on us, Kara said, glaring at the redhead. I deleted all the videos if that makes you feel better, Barbara said. Videos? Izuku and Karen exclaimed, their faces turning red as a tomato. Unbeknownst to the Teen Titans, someone was indeed watching them from the shadows. A pair of emerald green eyes looked at Izuku, as if he were its next prey. Suddenly, out from the darkness, a branch snapped. The Titans turned their heads towards the noise. From the shadows of the nearby trees, a large spotted fur-covered creature jumped out, and landed on the middle of the table. The group of heroes jumped back, and saw who had disturbed their meal. The cheetah had returned. The villainous cat jumped at Izuku, tackling him to the ground. Izuku used a small amount of One for All and kicked Cheetah off of him. The cat villain got back on its legs before the rest of the Titans began to throw anything they had on hand to scare off the cheetah. The agile cat villain dodged the burgers, fries, sodas and food trays that the young adults threw at her. Izuku used his chance to create a powerful flick with One for All. The compressed air that Izuku made struck at the fiend, sending it flying away from the team. We must get out of here, Diana said before her, and the rest of the team took off. Cheetah growled at Diana and the rest of the Titans for keeping her future mate away from her. She took off after them, not giving up on the quest she set before herself. The Titans managed to get back to their headquarters and began to go over what just happened. Well, Cheetah's back, Kara said. But now instead of going after Diana, she's after Izuku. But why? Asked Barbara. It doesn't make any sense. I mean, we were able to fend her off when Izuku and I worked together, Diana said. Maybe she's targeting him because of revenge? Defeat one of the foes that bested her? No. Cheetahs are hunters by nature. They'd wait for their prey to be alone, Izuku said. They would try to get them away from the herd. If she wanted revenge then, why attack us when we were together? Plus, she didn't really attack you. She seemed to be trying to capture you, Kara said. But why? Diana asked. The Titans were in deep thought. This cat villain was very different than the other villains that they had fought so far. She seemed more motivated by personal reasons than anything. She was not focused on getting money or jewels. If she was after Izuku, then she had her own reasons. The best way to see if there's a trap is to set it off, Kara said. That's very risky, Kara. If something goes wrong, then Cheetah will have Izuku, Diana responded. I'd like to see that mangy cat try anything to harm our darling, Z said. Yes, we won't let this gata callegera get close to Izuku, Jessica said. Diana didn't like it, but she knew very well that this fiend wasn't going to stop until she got what she wanted. Don't worry, Diana, I'll be fine, Izuku said, getting Diana's attention. I know I'm not built like a tank like All Might, or have ancient fighting techniques. But I'm not going to run away from a villain chasing me. Much less if she's willing to hurt my friends to get to me, he said with determination in his eyes. With a sigh, Diana conceded. Very well, let us catch a feral beast, Diana said before changing into her uniform. It was the middle of the night, and Izuku was walking around the central park of Metropolis. The sprinklers had just left the grass wet, and the only light was that of the few lampposts scattered through the path. There was a deadly silence in the night air, the same kind of silence one only hears when they are truly alone. But Izuku knew that he wasn't alone. Izuku glanced around the path and decided to bite the bullet. I know you're out there, Izuku said, looking forward. Then from behind Izuku, Cheetah dropped down. A sinister cat-like grin appeared on her face as she began circling Izuku. Why are you hunting me? Izuku asked, keeping his cool as best as he could. Cheetah didn't answer his question. She only smiled at him, almost like she was challenging him to a fight. Answer me, Izuku said, narrowing his eyes. Because I wanted to test your strength, to see if you were worthy, Cheetah said in a sweet, alluring voice, one that a predator would use. An alpha cannot choose another on a whim. Izuku was not ready for such an answer, and was honestly taken aback by this revelation. Wait, what? Izuku asked, his face getting flustered by the words. Cheetah began getting closer and closer to the young hero. She swayed her hips and made her curves more appealing to the male before her. It was her fiendish attempt to rein in Izuku's interest. Like a wild cat, Cheetah attempted to make her pheromones call upon Izuku's desires. In the animal kingdom, the females always seek out strong and powerful males to become mates. You are incredibly powerful, and incredibly tactical. You can stand up to those who wrong you and others. And you've surrounded yourself with powerful women, Cheetah said as she inched closer to Izuku. What qualities are those aspects if not those of an alpha? What? it's nothing like that, Izuku said. You say that, but why waste your time with those second-best girls, when you can have this queen? Cheetah asked, leaning closer to Izuku. I'm sorry, but I don't like girls with more hair on their bodies than I have, Izuku stuttered. I wasn't asking, Cheetah said. The cat villain jumped at Izuku, claws drawn out. In a split second, Izuku jumped out of the way and rolled on the path before running away from the spot. I love it when they play hard to get, Cheetah said as she began chasing after Izuku. Izuku kept running fast, making sure not to use one for all. He couldn't allow her to get the sense that this was a trap or what his secret identity was. He reached an open field where he believed he could lose the cat, but just as he looked back, Cheetah pinned him down. She landed across his body, pinning down his upper body. One of her clawed hands gripped his right arm while the other one pushed down his head. You gave me quite the chase, mate. But it is time I rip the spoils of victory, Cheetah said. Unhand him, you feline fiend, called a voice. Cheetah's eyes snapped open as she recognized that voice. She turned around and saw the lasso of truth wrap itself around her body. Wonder Woman and the rest of the Titans were ready to fight. Wonder Woman held tightly to the lasso and pulled Cheetah away from Izuku. Your pursuit is folly, Cheetah. You are not going to hurt this young man, Wonder Woman said as Cheetah struggled against the lasso's hold. Yeah, hands off the merchandise, Supergirl said. This doesn't concern you, Titans, Cheetah growled. I think it actually does, Zatanna said before making Izuku disappear from the area. Unbeknownst to Cheetah, Izuku was only transported far from sight. He quickly grabbed his costume and put it on. Once Deku was all suited up and ready to go, he jumped in and joined his team. Surrender now, Cheetah, Deku said. You do not stand a chance, Wonder Woman said as Cheetah struggled with the lasso. You think you're so special, a beacon of hope and peace. Well, I am sad to let you know that life is not a fairy tale, Cheetah said as she slowly got back to her feet. You will not get in my way. Enough chit-chat, let's take this cat to the slammer, Supergirl said. Cheetah instead used this chance and jumped over Wonder Woman, kicking her in the back. With the hold of her bindings loosened, Cheetah broke free from the lasso and pulled out her claws as she got ready to fight. Supergirl jumped in to try to punch her, but Cheetah dodged it by the skin of her fangs. She tried to backhand the cat villain away, but she ducked and swiped at Supergirl. The last daughter of Krypton jumped back, only getting a scratch from the vicious cat. Time for you to take una siesta, gatita, Green Lantern said, only getting a confused look from Supergirl. A cat nap. Green Lantern created a large iron bar cage, but Cheetah moved too fast to be caged by it. Zatanna quickly joined in chanting her spells. Tel et norgatinab satek tief nort otni kachuktanas. Zatanna chanted. Cheetah suddenly began to sink, giving enough time for Bumblebee to move in and begin using her stingers. The little hero began circling around and firing at the cat. Cheetah swung her claws in a wild frenzy, hoping to strike at the small hero. She managed to strike at the little Bumblebee, sending her away. She then sunk her claws into solid ground and pulled herself out of the pit. Cheetah grabbed hold of some of the quicksand and threw it at Zatanna, blinding her. Deku and Wonder Woman jumped in to fight back the fiendish cat. Deku started with a punch, hoping that Cheetah would try to duck. As predicted, she moved down to avoid the punch, but instead she was met with kick to the face. Wonder Woman went in with her shield, bashing Cheetah into one of the trees. Cheetah landed on her feet against the tree and then shot herself forward. She spun around in a wheel to attack the heroes, bouncing from tree to tree and striking at the heroes. We must stop this fight, she's too fast like this, Wonder Woman said as Cheetah cut her arm. I've got an idea, Deku said before getting a cut above his left eyebrow. Two can play at this game, he said as One for All coursed through him. Deku jumped straight at the trees and began doing his best imitation of Gran Torino. He began bouncing and jumping from tree to tree, keeping up with Cheetah. They clashed over and over again, but Cheetah's more agile body allowed her to get the upper hand in the fight. We must aid Deku, Wonder Woman said, throwing her lasso and wrapping it around two of the trees. Deku grabbed hold of the lasso of truth and used it to bounce back into the fight with greater speed. We hear ya, Wonder Woman, Supergirl said as she blew on some of the trees, freezing them and preventing Cheetah from using them. The rest of the female Titans began working together. They either helped Deku increase his speed to catch up with the fiendish cat, or destroyed the trees that she was about to use. Among the team-ups were Green Lantern and Batgirl that while Jess coated the trees with spikes for Cheetah, Babs used her grappling hook to fling Deku to nail a punch on Cheetah. Another team was Zatanna chanting spells to make Deku bounce more, and Bumblebee fired her shots at the fiendish Cheetah. In a matter of minutes, Cheetah was well aware that she was overwhelmed. She crashed down on the hard ground with Deku falling shortly after. He himself was covered with cuts and scratch marks. Deku was panting, dizzy from all bouncing around and constant fighting. "It's over, Cheetah. Come quietly," Deku said, as some blood trailed down his side. Cheetah didn't answer at first. She was busy taking in deep breaths. She narrowed her eyes, glaring at the Titans, but amongst the deep breaths, a scent entered her nostrils. It was a strong scent that she had been smelling this whole time. The fiendish Cheetah looked up at Deku and then began chuckling to herself. "This isn't good. It's never good when they start laughing when they're defeated," Batgirl said. The scent of the one that she had been stalking was not fading, but it had grown stronger. Everything was clicking for Cheetah, and she couldn't help but laugh. "This isn't over," Cheetah said before slashing at one of the nearby fire hydrants. The torrent of water temporarily blinded the Titans, giving the villain the time to make her escape. After Green Lantern sealed the hydrant, the team noticed that there was no trace of Cheetah. "She's gone," said Wonder Woman. "But at least she knows we can hit as hard as we can take," Supergirl said proudly. Deku for his part knew that there was something more to the words of the villain. She had taken more than a beating from this encounter. Far in the lavish mansion, Cheetah entered the room of Barbie. The spotted fur, claws, fangs and tail all seemed to retreat back into the Catwoman's body, leaving Barbie naked in the middle of her room. She moved to her mirror, unfazed with her body's naked state. Her succulent F-cup breasts bounced as she swayed her hips left and right before she looked at the mirror. All her bruises were gone or slowly fading, but she didn't mind. In her own feral way of thinking, these were marks that showed she had yet to become good enough for her beloved mate. "So, the little green alpha is actually a powerful superhero," Barbie said, chuckling to herself. "Now it makes more sense as to why he's surrounded by such women. You may have won this round, beloved. But I am nothing if not persistent. I won't rest until you lay under my claws," she said, slashing at the mirror, leaving deep claw marks in the glass. Barbara Gordon wouldn't like to call herself obsessed, but every once in a while she found something that she couldn't let go of. Even though Barbara had told the rest of her team that she had destroyed the videos, she had made copies and was looking over them. Part of any detective's training was to keep track of information, in case it became useful in the future. It was late at night, and Barbara was going over the footage that she had gotten from Izuku's special times. She was glued to the computer screen and was looking at the video as if she was trying to memorize it. Thanks to her photographic memory, Barbara knew every move and sound in each of the videos. It was a blessing and a curse for the young detective. "Why am I still watching these videos?" Barbara asked herself as she clicked on the video of Izuku and Diana. In the video, Izuku and Diana were going at it with her on top of Izuku and him kissing her neck. Thanks to Barbara's earbuds, she was able to listen in to every sound that both Izuku and Diana made. Barbara's eyes continued to look at the video as her mind drifted onto something else entirely. Barbara's hand moved downwards as she began feeling herself getting heated from all the information that she was processing. "Damn it. Why am I like this?" Barbara asked herself as she continued to indulge herself. Barbara's moans matched Diana's, and she couldn't help but feel aroused by the words being exchanged between them. "Damn, hormones won't leave me the heck alone," Barbara moaned, but then stopped herself. "I'll just think of something else." "Yeah, that should work," she said before closing the window of the videos. Barbara quickly began working on her homework and answering several questions that she had in her assignment. In a couple of minutes, she was officially done for the day. "I may not have Diana or Izuku's brains, but I'm pretty good with what I do," Barbara said before looking at her work. At the sight of the screen, Barbara's pride turned to ash in her mouth. All the answers that she had put into her homework weren't the right ones. They weren't even about the same subject. Every single one of the answers were different sexual positions, movements, moans, groans and fetishes. Barbara had somehow even written every single line of dialogue that had been said in each video. She was confused. She'd never make such a colossal mistake. "What is wrong with me?" Barbara yelled before deleting everything. "I can't sleep. I can't study or work through the day without thinking about them." Barbara went to the corner of her room, covering her face with her hoodie. "It's all his fault," Barbara said. I can't focus on anything other than Izuku going wild on the girls. That is it. All I have to do is get it out of my system and then I'll be back to normal. Barbara jumped back to her computer and began to put together a plan to make things work. She began going over the different videos and circumstances that Diana, Kara, Z and Jessica each had their times, and began finding commons. A smile appeared on Barbara as she looked at her plan. All right, Izuku. I may not be what you're used to. Barbara began watching all 4 women in the videos reaching their climax. But I'm going to rock your world. The next day, in high school, everything was normal. Some would even say that it was very quiet. Izuku was walking right next to Barry as they were discussing some notes they took in science class. I'm just saying that the specialized fireproof boots that the fire department uses are far more versatile than they appear, Barry said. According to the laws of thermodynamics that we covered in class, the less friction an object creates, the better it allows for movement. Right? Izuku asked. I guess so, Barry answered. Behind the corner of the hall, Barbara observed Izuku getting closer to her. She smiled as she waited for him to pass her, and then set her plan into action. Just as both Izuku and Barry were about to go to their next classes, suddenly, the fire alarm blared on all parts of the school. Izuku and Barry were about to go to the emergency exit, but Izuku's arm was grabbed from behind, pulling him away. Izuku? Buddy? Asked Barry, looking for his friend. Back with Izuku, he found out that it was Barbara, the one that was pulling him away from everyone. Barbara, what's wrong? Izuku asked the redhead. No time to explain, come with me, Barbara replied. Izuku continued following Barbara at high speeds through the school halls. They avoided the crowds as much as they could, until they arrived at the sports equipment storage room. Barbara opened the door and threw Izuku inside before he could get a word out. She then locked the door behind her. Barbara, what's going on? Izuku asked his friend. Well, I wanted to keep things private and this seemed like the best place within the school grounds, Barbara said. What do you mean by that? Asked Izuku with trepidation in his voice. Without saying another word, Barbara began to unzip her hoodie and toss it to the side before going for her shirt. Lifting it over her head and revealing her modest C-cup breasts, hidden behind a small bra with bats all over it, to the cold air of the storage room. Ever since I watched you and the girls going at it, I've been having trouble focusing, Barbara said as she slowly began pushing Izuku back. What do you mean by that? Izuku asked as Barbara pressed her breasts on his chest and gripped his shirt. I mean, that I can't think or focus on anything other than you mounting the girls and them moaning like it's the last thing in the world, Barbara said before pulling Izuku up to her eyes. So this is what we're going to do. You are going to let me scratch this itch, and you'll take responsibility for putting me in this position. Good? And if I say no? Izuku asked, stuttering a bit. Barbara just smirked before tripping Izuku into one of the floor mat stacks. She quickly straddles him and gives him a passionate kiss on his lips. Then, you can just lay down there, and I do the rest, Barbara said as her tone turned into one of arousal and desire. Man, I can't believe how good a single kiss felt, she said as a red streak appeared across her face, and she then resumed kissing Izuku. Barbara kept grinding herself on Izuku. She couldn't help herself, it was exactly what she desired and she wanted more of it. Her body was getting warmer and warmer as she felt herself get moist from friction alone. Barbara's tongue wrestled and fought against Izuku's tongue, and oddly enough she was winning. You taste so good, Green Bean, Barbara said, looking slightly as if she was getting drunk from the experience. Barbara, please calm down, Izuku said, trying to push her off of him. You're not thinking clearly. I am doing everything I can in order to clear my head, Barbara said before pulling Izuku's shirt off and kissing his neck. I looked over every video of all the girls that you had sex with, and I memorized different pleasure points to make you putty in my hands. Barbara kept kissing Izuku's neck, causing him to moan in pleasure. She sucked on his skin and gave him little bites of love. His scent and sweat was intoxicating for her, and she wasn't able to hold back a lick. You taste so good, my lovely, Barbara said before she began leaving a trail of kisses across Izuku's chest before reaching his pants. Time skip. A whole minute passed as Barbara just laid on top of Izuku. She wrapped her arms around Izuku's shoulders, letting her face press against his own. Her face was red, her tongue was out, and her breathing was erratic, only slowing for a little bit. If Barbara could describe herself right now, she'd say that she was beyond satisfied by her first time. Are you all right, Barbara? Asked Izuku. Not everyone is prepared for their first time. I can see why Diana and the others do this whenever they can, Barbara said. Yes, it is indeed a very beautiful experience that connects you to your love on a deeper emotional and physical level, called a voice from behind the young heroes. Barbara's ears perked up before looking behind her to see Diana standing behind her. But she wasn't alone. Standing behind the Amazon princess were Kara, Z and Jessica. Gotta say, Greenie, watching you go is just as exciting as doing it with you, Kara said. You did marvelous, darling, Z said. I still can't believe you guys were okay with this plan, Izuku said, feeling completely embarrassed. What plan? Barbara asked, coming to her senses. In that minute, Kara pulled out a video camera, Z pulled her phone, and Jessica pulled a tape recorder. We found out that you kept the videos of our times with Izuku, Diana said. We knew that you'd eventually seek out Izuku's company, Jessica said. And given that you watched us and recorded our special times, Z continued. We decided that this should even things up a bit, Kara finished. Wouldn't you agree, Barbara? Diana asked. Barbara only sat there, laughing nervously at the situation that she found herself in. In one sense of the situation, it was clearly blackmail, but considering that she did the exact same thing, she couldn't say anything to defend herself. So, what happens now? Barbara asked. You delete your videos before us, and then we destroy our evidence, Diana said. Then you can join our sisterhood of love. If you desire it, of course. Barbara thought for a moment, placing her finger on her chin. She stayed like that for a minute or two, allowing Izuku to get up and dress up. You girls have yourselves a deal, Barbara said, extending her hand towards Diana. And guys, this is the end. I hope you guys enjoyed well. Until next time, peace.